How's it going, important people? Today is a very exciting episode of everybody's favorite series, How the Heck Do You Play That Deck? Today is so exciting because we finally get to play the new Nouvelles, or the Hungry Burger archetype. Now, this entire deck is like French words. I don't speak French. I have a terrible French accent, but you know, oui, and whatnot. So I'm going to try my best, but the most important thing to know about this deck is not my French accent, but how the heck do you play it? So this deck genuinely cooks, and I mean it cooks. So let's go over it, and let's learn how the heck do you play that deck. Alright, Habibis, before we get into the replays, I want to go over what the deck does, the premise of it. In case you saw Hungry Burgers and you're just like, Heck W, excuse me, Hungry Burgers? Let's talk about what this deck does, but first, I want to tell you guys, if you enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like. If you found it helpful, please consider hitting that thumbs up button. Also, I would appreciate it if you sub to the channel. It helps out a ton. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Now, that we got that out of the way, let's talk about what this deck does. So basically, the purpose of the Hungry Burger archetype is using the Nouvelles new support, which whenever they're summoned and targeted by a card effect or a attack, you can tribute a face-up attack position monster and then summon whatever it says on the card effect that was targeted. On the card that was targeted, I should say. So basically, with your Burbacy here, you can summon a level 2 or 3, and this one you can summon a level 3 or 4 whenever it's targeted. And this is probably your best one, Poltes de Nouvelles. This one, whenever any monster on the field is targeted for a card effect or an attack, you can tribute a face-up attack position monster and any Nouvelles monster to summon out a level 4 or 5 from the deck. So obviously you can start cooking like crazy with this deck, all the way up to your Bale Grill de Nouvelles. This is your big boss monster. It negates all face-up card effects on the field and then tributes all your opponent's monsters. So crazy stuff going on with this deck. How do you get here? How do you summon these out? You have your starters, your Poissonnaire de Nouvelles, your Concours de Cuisine. You're going to see what these cards do in just a little bit. Poissonnaire, basically you can search for your ritual spells. Same with the incantation cards. I was on a roller coaster of emotions with this deck. I went from Diamond 3 all the way to Diamond 5 because I kept losing. I tried Ben 10. I tried Cyber Petite Angel. I tried Diviner at 3. This is the formula that worked for me. When I put the incantation in, it really helped just get me more monsters on the field to be tribute fodder for my rituals. It works out really well, guys. I'm going to give you guys a deck list in the description below so that you guys can see all the cards here. But let's get into it. I think this is the best way you're going to learn is if you see how I make these plays.
Hold up. Let him go.
So I want this to be the first replay that we show because it highlights the key aspects of this deck and everything that it does. We ash their emergence. They summon out Monk of Tenyi and pass. That's all they can do. Time to cook. I'm sorry. Time to cook. There we go. We draw Hungry Burger, best card in the game. Play our Cuisine. They chain Max C. So now we're under Max C. We got to operate quickly here. Summon our Poissonnaire. Poissonnaire to search for our poison recipe. Trust me, that says poison. I'm going to activate it to summon out my Burbacy de Nouvelles. And when I summon it off of this card effect, when I summon out my Burbacy de Nouvelles off of this card effect, I can add a recipe card. I get my fish, my meat recipe, my recette de viande. Okay? Once again, we get another effect off our Poissonnaire, and I chain block my other effect here. So always use this as Chain Link 1 and this Chain Link 2 to make sure this doesn't get ashed. I get to activate the top 5 cards of my deck, and I get my Nouvelles Restaurante à Table. And this card is so good, because what it does is, when it's activated, I can add a recipe card. I add my Omni Negate. Now I'm going to play my Talisman, reveal my Hungry Burger so they can see the ultimate card. And I get to special summon out my Candle. Candle lets me search for a ritual spell. I'm going to add my fish recipe again, or I'm sorry, my poison recipe. And I'm going to use that effect to summon out my Belmonnier de Nouvelles. And when this card is summoned, I can add another Nouvelles card from my deck to my hand. And I can tribute a monster to summon out my Belle Grill. I could not nuke the field here because it was not special summoned off of an effect, off of a ritual monster. You can only nuke the field when that happens, but it does still negate all face-up cards on the field. I'm going to play my meat recipe here to tribute out my candle, to summon out my Nouvelles Poletes, my Poletes Nouvelles, draw a card. Now, this is the other effect of Nouvelle Restaurante à Table. I get to put my Hungry Burger, even though it's the best card in the game, I don't want it right now. I'm going to put it back in my deck and draw a card. But don't worry, we're going to see Hungry Burger in just a second. I'm going to tribute my opponent's monster to summon out Hungry Burger and finish off the game. Hungry Burger! Hungry Burger for game, exactly 8,000 damage on the board. Look at that. That is how you cook. Alright guys, so this is us cooking a Labyrinth player. I want to show you guys exactly what happens here. We're under max C on top of that. Okay? I'm going to chain my Concours de Cuisine so that they get one less draw off this. This lets me summon my Poissonnière and my Pastiel. And also, my incantation card, the Ritual, lets me... This one lets me summon... search for a Ritual monster. And then this lets me search for any recipe card or a level 1 Ritual monster. I'm going to get my staff recipe here. Now, remember, I'm under max C. Normally, I'd go for my Burbacy here. But because I'm under max C, I want to go as few plays as possible. So I go Poletes. This lets me draw a card. It's pre-prep. I play it. I set 2 and I pass. They reveal that they're playing Labyrinth. They start doing some things. That's fine. No biggie. We're going to let them play, and we're going to be very selective with how we use this Omni Negate here, because this is a huge card for the deck, and when I want to use this effect, because when I use this effect, I'm allowed to then trigger my Poletes. So I'm going to play my Chef's Special Recipe on Big Welcome, negate that, send it to the grave, and then they're going to play Ku Klux so that they can play this Welcome Labyrinth. And then they're going to Silver Castle to set Eradicator Epidemic Virus here. Okay, so I need to be careful of this card. I need to make sure they don't have a Dark 2500 monster. I'm going to chain my staff recipe. I'm going to target my Poletes. I'm going to tribute a Nouvelles monster and one of their monsters, that being their lovely Labyrinth. They summon in attack mode, big mistake. And then I'm going to get to summon my Bellemonnier. So what I do here is I chain block. So whenever my Poissonnière is tributed, its effect triggers to put itself in the pendulum zone. So what you can do is, because you're always going to be tributing it to summon out a ritual monster, what you can do is you can make this chain link 1 and make this chain link 2 to chain block to make sure that your effect here doesn't get ash blossomed. So that's just something to do. Always make this chain link 1. This lets me search for a recipe card. I'm going to search for another Poissonnière. They're going to link summon, and I'm going to immediately say no, tribute it, summon out my Bale Grill. Bale Grill, tribute that monster, get it off the field, get him out of here, coach. They're going to play triple tactics. That does them no good. Scoop it up. We cooking. On to the next, baby. Merlin saw my cat that we were cooking with the sauce. He smelled fish. He knew something was up, so he had to come watch this replay. All right. We are going to play our Voice Le Carte, and they're going to play Ash. Remember, this card can let us reveal 2 monsters from the deck, and our opponent chooses 1, and depending on what they choose, we get to add the ritual spell for that card. So what I like to do here sometimes is I'll almost always reveal my Poissonnière des Nouvelles because I feel like they never choose it, and it almost always lets me get the card I want. Nevertheless, we get the card we want. I'm going to get rid of this Ash Blossom from my hand because I already played Called By on it, so I can't even use it. I'm going to use it to summon out my Burbacy de Nouvelles. I already have my fish recipe, my meat recipe in hand. Excavate 5, I get to summon out my Poissonnière. Poissonnière lets me search for my Recite de Personnel. Remember, this card lets me target my Burbacy de Nouvelles. Burbacy de Nouvelles triggers. I get to tribute a monster on my opponent's side of the field. I summon out my Poletes de Nouvelles. Get to draw a card. They play Unicorn. They activate it. They grab Theosis. Now remember what we said Poletes de Nouvelles does. This card is better than the other ones because When a card or effect is activated that targets a monster on the field, any monster on the field, Theosis targets. We know that from our Cash DM days. Theosis targets, so immediately we get to not only remove the target from the field, so Theosis fizzles out, we get to summon out our Belmonir de Nouvelles, which lets us get our Nouvelles Restaurante at Table. They summon Fenrir in attack mode here. They summon Fenrir in attack mode. We chain to tribute Fenrir to summon out our Belgrade de Nouvelles. Negate all face-up cards on the field, tribute them all. They scoop it up. Easy claps, right, Merlin? I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm having a lot of fun with this deck. To go over some of the ratios I have, they're kind of weird. So you can play this at 3. This deck has so many starters that I didn't feel like I needed this at 3. I almost always use this effect to go for Elder Entity Entis, if I'm being honest. Because if I get this card going second and I need to get rid of a card on the field, sending Entis to the graveyard allows me to pop a card. So you can play this at 3. The incantation package is kind of strange too. I thought about taking out my pencil here and putting in another Chalisman. I just like the fact that I can reveal a ritual monster, which is more likely to have a ritual monster in my hand than a ritual spell. And then I get to summon out either my Candle or my Talisman. And obviously Talisman lets me summon a ritual or add a ritual monster. Candle lets me add a ritual spell. You could play this at 3 as well. I play it at 2. Obviously I get to summon it with Concours de Cuisine. I could potentially search for it off of my Burger here. So playing it at 2 I feel like is fine. You can play it at 3 if you'd like. The hardest thing for me is I want to play this at 2. I just can't find space in the deck. The truth is, my biggest follow-up plays, if I summon out my level 5 and my level 6, my biggest follow-up plays is to shuffle them into the deck using my Nouvelles Restaurante at Table effect. So at the end of the end phase, or during my end phase, I'm sorry, I can target 2 cards in the graveyard, including a recipe card, place them in the deck. So basically I'll target a recipe card, and then I'll also target my level 5. So then I can go back and potentially summon it out of the deck using my Poletes here. There's just so many interesting things about this deck. It's hard. I don't know how to explain it, but it just works. It just works. We take it. We like it. Crossout Designator just to negate Maxi, another Maxi negate. We really hate that card, so we're going to try to get rid of it. So this deck works, guys. It's a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. I feel like if I keep pushing, I could get to Mastery with this deck. It's kind of crazy. But with that being said, guys, once again, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like. I would really appreciate it. Let me know if you guys are playing this deck. Let me know what decks you want me to do in the future. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves and go out of your way to make somebody's day special. Peace and love, Habibis.